Hey, Cindy, that's an interesting question, and it's one I've gotten a lot because it is confusing. I understand why people have a hard time understanding why Satanists would call themselves a Satan if they don't, or a Satanist if they don't actually believe in a literal Satan as a deity, right? Why put that bullseye on your head, like Jason King says? Well, I can tell you this. I think I made a video before trying to address this, but I'll try to go into more detail about it if I can here. I just finished my bottle of wine, so we'll see how well this works. It may not work too well. Well, first off, I gotta say I can only speak for myself. Satanism is flexible in its beliefs, and some Satanists do believe in a literal deity or a literal, force. This is a weird topic. It's basically, here's how it goes: is most Satanists are like myself, I believe. We are close to being called LaVeyan Satanist. I myself don't like that label. Anton LaVey wrote the Satanic Bible, and it's kind of the bar none, the modern foundation for Satanism. Most of us look at Satan in a symbolic representation, kind of as in a romantical aspect, kind of like Lucifer. We don't look at him as an evil deity like the Christians describe him to be, but we look at him as a rebel angel, as somebody who promotes individualism and who promotes independent thought. And he is the adversary, he's a judger, he's a free thinker who challenged the will of God, biblically, or legend has it, whatever. We look at him kind of as a romantic ideal to kind of mold ourselves after. But here's the main difference between Satanism and atheists or Satanists and atheists, is most Satanists, I believe, or at least I believe personally, that there is a force in the universe that I just attach that name to, Satan. Now, it's not, I don't think it's a conscious force, but it's the universal law. It's a force that moves the world forward. It's responsible for change. And that is kind of what I consider Satan to be. So in that sense, I'm not an atheist, because I do believe there are forces greater than man. I don't think there's just nothing else out there. But I reject the idea of deities, and I reject the idea of an afterlife. So in that sense, I'm closer to an agnostic than an atheist. I mean, I believe that I can feel the presence of something, and I really believe that there is something out there. And I've just chosen to identify that force as Satan because of its romantical aspects and because of the legendary folklore and the connotations between Lucifer and this force. So that's about as best as I can explain it at this point in the day. And so yeah, I consider myself a Satanist. I use Satan as a symbolic representation to represent man's carnality, his passions for life, and it's also, I believe, that force that is responsible for change in the world, that moves this world forward. It's evolution. It is a force. And regarding ritual, I personally don't do ritual. I have before, but I just don't feel it necessary anymore. And you know what? Here's the confusion that people seem to butt up against, is that they have a hard time thinking outside the box. And I did too at one point. We all were raised, well, here in, Western Judeo-Christian society, we're raised to think, in terms of black and white, of good and evil, of right and wrong, heaven and hell, God and the devil. And we tend to have a hard time, breaking free of these concepts of good and evil. And that's actually what ultimately drove me to pick up the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. And I at one time thought Satanists were creepy, devil-worshipping, heavy metal motherfuckers that sacrifice cats and shit, right? And wrote pentagrams on the wall in blood and shit like that. And certainly those Satanists do exist, but they're very few and far between. And those people are just fucking mentally ill, Most Satanists are pretty much like myself in philosophy or fundamentals and moral beliefs. But yeah, so people have a hard time, understanding and grasping the concept of why would you call yourself a Satanist if you don't actually believe in Satan? Well, I think I'm just kind of reiterating what I'm saying. I'm kind of talking in a loop here, but I hope I answered your question, Cindy. Thanks.